Good day, and welcome to the Delight of Photography. As always, this particular channel at the moment is talking about the delight of the smartphone camera, or the delight of smartphone photography. Thank you for joining me again. If you're new, thank you very much indeed. It's worth clicking on subscribe, bottom right hand, to take a list of all the different videos that we've done on photography, and particularly on smartphone photography. Today we're continuing with techniques for taking really good smartphone pictures. And that these are all just standard basic things that we tend to forget sometimes. They're not some kind of fantastic magic wand. They're things that we need to remember and thoughts about how we set up our camera and how we go about taking the images. So thank you for joining me. And let's have a look at taking even better smartphone photos. Even better smartphone photos. We've been through a selection where we've got to a thought, and depending on your model of phone, in common with the normal camera, you may have the option to move between auto and manual settings. So think sometimes about trying manual if your camera does that, because it gives you all sorts of different things that you can do. Adjusting the white balance, playing with focus, adjusting exposure levels, sorts of different things, and changing ISO if you want to. Manual can be really practical and gives you the option to select speed, ISO, white balance, etc. Aperture is still a debate, as we've covered before, because most smartphones do not allow you to change the aperture physically, with the sprinkling of new phones now have quite a complicated way of so doing. But this is how you begin to add your own personality or your own creativity to your photographs, by using manual. And in many cases, smartphones tend to be a blend of manual and auto. Experiment with your camera and find out. Because you take images like this is what the camera thinks you should take. But you would like the camera to look, you would like it to look like that. Far more practical, and that again makes it your photograph. That's what the camera thinks, but you can change it slightly and make it look like that, depending on what you want. Because particularly if you're shooting in manual, you can do all manner of things. When you're taking pictures in poor light or the dark, some of the newer cameras now have a setting such as night mode or bright mode or some kind of similar nature. It's amazing what you can achieve, because it allows you to take images in light that would normally end up with not a very good image. This is straightforward, no flash, nothing, just picture in bad lighting. Bright mode or that type of mode can be very useful. Black and white, amazing, I think. Different things that you can take at night. I have a particular interest in low light photography, so I'm fascinated to see what my phone camera can do. What you've got to do is hold the camera still for a certain period, and the camera sorts it all out. Have a look at your camera instructions if your camera has this. And maybe at times when you want to take images close up. And normally the camera maybe won't focus as close as this, but if you read your instruction manual, it will tell you all the different ways that you can maybe have manual focus perhaps, which allows you to take really close-up images. Different methods. Important. Flash, obviously flash. Use it very selectively. Your default setup should be no flash. Otherwise you will find, if it's on auto, that your camera flash will spoil many pictures that you were trying to take. It should be your option when you decide to use flash. Some newer smartphones are now using extra cameras, allows them to offer you portrait mode, which blurs the background. because the concept obviously is portraits look better with a blurred background, but it's not just for portraits. Image and portrait. Blur the background. Very creatively useful. Second, maybe the third camera can have telephoto effects as well. Or else you can use it as a wide-angle camera, depending on the model of camera. But wide angle can be very effective because this image looks far more effective taken at wide angle. My view. For example, this is a Samsung. It has 3 cameras, as you will notice. It's got a rear camera system. This is just to show you the type of thing that you can get. This is not a state-of-the-art modern camera, but even at this stage, it had an ultra-wide camera, it had a telephone camera, it had a main camera, and it had a depth camera. Depth camera was used for sensing depth and making sure that it got the focus correct. So your camera phone could have maybe 4 different cameras, because each one of those on the back is not a different lens, it's a different camera. What about high dynamic range? Do you use that? Because smartphones are fantastic. Because what it does, it will take 3 or maybe even 5 different exposure settings of the same picture and blend them. So just like that. I use HDR with my particular camera all the time. You may well want to experiment with HDR with your camera and decide whether you would like to leave it on automatically or just select it as and when you want to. But HDR can give a beautiful depth to your pictures. And then you can decide, particularly if you're shooting in manual, whether shoot in RAW or JPEG or both. If your phone supports RAW, it's great. If not, you can use Lightroom Camera perhaps, which will enable you to shoot in RAW. But why doesn't want to shoot in RAW? Because it gives you so much more data and detail that if you want to work on enhancing your images, and my version of enhancement is that not adding stuff, it is digging out the detail that's in the file that you have already captured, except you can't see it. And if you've got RAW, it takes far more detail. You can still do this with just JPEG, but it doesn't always work just as well. But this is the camera, and you've maybe messed up the exposure. But there it is. You've added nothing. All that data was there in the camera. Think about RAW. Snapseed, Lightroom, iPhone. Snapseed is fantastic. Sometimes if you've got iPhone, depending whether it's a modern iPhone or not, to use Snapseed you may have to work around it. Third-party apps are really important because there are all sorts of things that you can do. It tells you can change it. So Snapseed, Google Photos can do you've got some really wide number of things that you can do with your images in Google Photos. Touch Retouch is just an amazing app for removing stuff. You don't want the spike on the right behind my picture, you just wipe it and it's gone. Very, very easy to use. So there are all sorts of different things that you can use depending on the type of photography that you would like to use your camera for. And black and white. Black and white apps will allow you to shoot, and if you have a look at the top you can see all the different filters that you can apply. So it gives you a whole wide range of different things that you can use your camera for. Panorama is fantastic because you can just shoot panoramas. But particularly when you're looking at something like this, or maybe even like this, using a panorama can give your viewer the real feel for what you're actually trying to capture with your camera. think about, read your instruction book, because some cameras like you to do panoramas vertically and other cameras like you to do it horizontally. Have a look at your instructions and just make sure which one is yours. Check your phone book instructions. But there's something else that you can do, because what you can do, just like you do with a normal camera, is to shoot a series of images overlapping by 20-25%. And then, just like with a normal camera software, you can blend them to give you a really nice panorama. And my experience is that panorama done like this is superior to the automatic panorama that you'll get from your camera, but it's worth trying. And there's some amazing software to do this. Microsoft Ice. Download Microsoft Ice from the Microsoft website. It's free. It's a really, really good stitching program. Very easy to use, and all the details are given as you download it. It's fantastic. So think about different things that you can do with your camera, because if you're just using it to take pictures, fine. But if you want to experiment and you really want to get some more enjoyment out of your camera, and you want to take images that are really, really different, think about going manual and think about all the different apps that you can actually talk about. And in the next talk, we're going to talk in more detail about Snapseed and things like that, which is actually a phenomenal software program. So thank you for taking the time to join me. As I said, click on subscribe bottom right if you'd like to get more detail of the videos we've done. Thanks very much.